So this video deals with page 2 of your unit review. I'm looking at inequalities. I want to go ahead and put them on a graph and make sure that they're going the right direction and put them in interval notation. So right now I'm looking at n is greater than or equal to -2. In class I'll ask you, do I put my dot on -2 or where do I put my dot? And you say on -2. Okay, I always make it an open dot and then I ask you, is it open or is it closed? And you would tell me it is closed because there's an equal sign. Okay. I then would ask you, does it point towards my desk or towards the door? And you would tell me that this one points towards the door and you would draw your graph that way. The way you know is because this sign matches my arrowhead as long as my variable is in front. The moment that variable is in a different place, you have to rewrite it. Okay? So then I ask you, does this go towards -infinity or towards +infinity? And you tell me +infinity. So then I ask you to read this from left to right. So you go across and you read and you're like, oh, I hit -2. Then I hit the infinity, so that's how you know what order to write it in. I ask you, do you put a parenthesis or a bracket on -2? You'll tell me I put a bracket on -2 because it's a colored in dot, because it has a straight line equal sign. I don't care which way you know it. I just care that you can match those three things together. Okay. This goes all the way on and on till infinity. Infinities always get a parenthesis. You can memorize that they always get a parenthesis, but I'm telling you the reason why is because we don't know what infinity actually equals. And if you do, you deserve a Nobel Prize. Okay. So here I'd ask you, where do I put my dot? You'd say I put my dot at -4. I'd ask you, is it open or is it closed? You'd say it's open, so I wouldn't change it. I'd ask you, does it point towards my desk or towards the door? You would say it points towards your desk, Ms. Darker, and I would send it that way. So then I don't provide you with this on your test. I don't ask those questions. You have to know, you have to ask yourself those questions. And so the next thing I ask you about is, does it go towards -infinity or towards +infinity? And you have to be smart enough to go ahead and write those down for yourself. If that's something that really helps you, that has to be something that you do, okay? It can't be something that I do. So, do I go towards -infinity or +infinity? I'm going towards the -infinity. It's pointing that direction. It's pointing right at the -infinity. Then I go ahead and I read from left to right. As I read from left to right, I see -infinity first. So I write the -infinity first. I keep going on my way, and something happens at -4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop at -4. -infinity gets a parenthesis because it always gets a parenthesis. -4 gets a parenthesis because it's an open dot, because there is no equal sign here. It is an open dot. Okay, so that's your interval notation basics. If you need a little bit more on this, I've posted another video earlier this semester. So you want to go back and look at that. It's called interval notation. So this one says solve each inequality and graph its solution and then give the solution in interval notation. So we will do a little bit more interval notation. I kind of hate these problems because the little line for the graph is so high in this problem. So I always go and rewrite these. I know it takes a little bit of your time. I know it's a little annoying. I know that some of you want to get started right away. Take the time to rewrite it. Don't mess yourselves up. So I add 9 to both sides because I'm trying to get n by itself. What's unfortunate is that I have to add a negative and a positive, and it's really bothering me. So let's say I use my calculator. Okay. I know it's a negative number, and I get a 5. No, sorry, and I get a 7. I know I'm done because my n is by itself. So now I get to graphing. To graph this, I'm going to put this on negative 7. You need to be able to do all of this on your own without me asking you questions. Then I point it to the right, which goes on and on towards positive infinity. When I read from left to right, I see that negative 7 first, and then I see the infinity. That negative 7 has an open circle. It has no equal sign. It gets a parenthesis. Infinities always get a parenthesis. I'm going to do 19. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I get x is greater than 10. So I go ahead, I put my dot on the graph at 10. It's an open dot. I send it to the right. So it goes on and on to infinity. So I get 10 to infinity. I have a parenthesis on 10 and a parenthesis on infinity. Notice I gave you a little less help there. Okay. So I'm getting to the point where I'm hoping you can do this on your own. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rewrite, and I am not going to give you any instructions for this. That's the end of that page.